Again, welcome you all to the February 26, 2014 SNA meeting. We'll start with roll call and attendance. John Bowen? Here. Joseph Bryant? Here. JD Charest? Here. Sarah Feeney? Here. Miles Glover? Here. Kate Kennison?
Here.
Robert Lane? Robert Mosier?
Here.
Josh Mutart? Here. Catherine O'Neill?
Here.
Todd Shiver? Here. Ashley Stubbs?
Here.
Derek Whittam?
Here.
Connie Williams?
Here.
And I myself, I am very much present. We'll start with, we'll move to approval of the agenda. If you guys see under supplemental funding requests, the Women in Aviation Conference would like a vote tonight. So I move to add under supplemental funding request voting, subsection B, Women in Aviation Conference. I'm entertaining a motion, I'm sorry, JD.
So moved.
Miles?
Seconded.
Any discussion? Yes, Derek?
Why? Do we know?
No.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
I believe it's for the timing of the travel.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, Women in Aviation, we will take a vote on that tonight. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the February 26, 2014 agenda.
Oh, look, it's pressure again.
Robert, so moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thanks, Catherine. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, agenda approved. Move on to approval of the February 19th, 2014 minutes. You guys look through the minutes for a minute.
Jacob,
Yeah.
I move to approve the minutes from last week's meeting.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, Connie, second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, minutes approved. Move on to section 5, reports. I would just like to remind you guys that BOD elections are open, so if you'd like to run, please contact Miles Glover, our elections coordinator. And you're going to be hearing this for about another month, every week. So it'll be ingrained in your brains. Other than that, I have nothing to report. I'll move it over to Joey.
I have nothing to report as well.
Okay, all right. So at this time, I'll move to section 6, public comments. At this time, is there any comment from the public? Seeing none, we'll move on to section 7, supplemental funding requests. Subsection A, 1412, source is requesting $2,175. Who's reading it? You are? 1 second, do you have a PowerPoint?
It is, it's right here.
Is it pulled up on there?
It won't. Pull up. It's not detecting. That's what I was trying to say.
Just 1 second.
Yeah, no worries. I can take that opportunity to kind of test
That
out
is
some
not
of the
valid.
source programs from
That is not
last year if
valid.
you didn't have an opportunity
it's
to
not.
go.
Derek, aren't you an IT major?
No, computer science.
All right.
Go into IT.
You have to switch.
Unfortunately, I don't have one for everybody.
Oh.
But
I don't know what it is.
What was that question all about?
Because they're having a computer.
I should be an IT
Oh, I still know how to fix computers
Right here.
and how to make them work. That's what computer science is all about.
Yeah, back to you later.
thank you.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
All right, you have 10 minutes.
All right. My name is Kara Gabriel. I'm the current director and chair of the SOURCE committee. I'm actually also a professor over in the Department of Psychology, and I took SOURCE over 2 years ago. If you don't know what SOURCE stands for, it stands for the very long-winded name Symposium on University Research and Creative Expression. SOURCE happens every May, and it offers an opportunity for students here on campus to present their research, scholarship, and creative activities. And so these are some photos, different dance, posters. We have oral presentations, and last year we had 3 poster presentation sessions with a total of more than 150 posters alone. This year we're anticipating having to go to 4 different poster sessions to accommodate the demand that already seems to be coming in. So what does SOURCE do for the students? It primarily,
No,
Oh,
it just
no.
happens.
Okay.
It happens occasionally.
it primarily offers that opportunity for students to present the work they've been doing at Central with a faculty mentor. And what that means is that individuals from off campus, employers from around the state, alumni, other faculty on campus, as well as staff can come in and other students and see all those presentations. Basically, with funding from the Services and Activities Committee, we're able to take over the entire CERC building and take every room, and in all of those rooms, we have students presenting or performing. Now, an important element of SOURCE is that unlike similar symposiums that WSU or University of Washington offer, SOURCE offers every student presenter a chance for critical feedback, because we assign 2 judges to every student presentation, and those judges fill out forms that offer feedback on the strengths and weaknesses of those presentations. They also offer an opportunity to truly acknowledge those outstanding, the top 10% of student presenters. So who are those judges? Well, we invite, they're all volunteers. They're individuals who are, as I said, alumni, employers. We have individuals who drive all the way over from Bellingham, who drive from Seattle. They come and they take the day and they meet with, or they see those presentations, they pair with another judge, and they offer that feedback. So why do we do that? Because it actually is quite a job to assign all those judges to all those presentations. Well, because we truly believe that getting that feedback helps the student, helps them do a better job in the future when they have to present for work, but it also does allow us to truly acknowledge those students who went above and beyond in their presentation. SOURCE, since it started in 1996, has grown exponentially. Last year we had 337 presentations. I guess I'm not a math major, so I shouldn't. Exponentially is the wrong word there, but it's grown a lot. We had 337 presentations. I anticipate that the growth is going to continue, although frankly we're starting to level off because there's so many students doing these presentations. But what I love is that every year we're getting new departments coming in. Aviation, military history, and they will present the specialties in their field. So just as a way of saying, so we had 337 presentations, what does that mean for judges? Well, I had 150 judges, well over 150 judges. So every judge is assigned to a pair. We had almost 80 judge pairs. And what those judges do is, as a pair, they go to that presenter. That means that definitely every student presenter has someone interested and asking questions and being truly there as an audience. And that also allows them, as I said, to get that feedback. Some judges who do come over from the west side, who come up from Yakima, they stay all day. And I assign them to presentations throughout the day. But they also then have to have a quiet moment to reflect with their fellow judges and say, now what should we put down on this form? What were the strengths? What were the weaknesses? What were the best presentations we saw? And of course, the presenters themselves, with more than 337 presentations, many of those with multiple co-authors, the presenters probably need some time too, so we also offer the judging room up to the presenters, and they too can sit there and have a moment to collect themselves either before or after their presentations. So the reason I'm here today is essentially because although we currently do have funding from the Services and Activities Committee, and I thank you for that, that base funding allows us to pay for the building, as well as every student presenter gets a program, and I handed out programs from last year. This year the cover art's already chosen. This is what's going to be on the programs. So actually so it's a beautiful tree. It's being called the Tree of Wisdom, of books and rocks in all the different fields. So that's what the Service and Activity budget already helps support. I do get funding from colleges and departments and student success, but unfortunately, unfortunately, because of dining services and catering services splitting off, this year we are not going to get a donation from dining services to cover the refreshments that we like to offer the student presenters and the judges. And this is an unexpected change to my budget, and basically I'm here asking this committee if, as a supplemental fund, to be kind enough to give me the funds necessary to offer those refreshments throughout the day. Do I ask for any questions?
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
Okay, all
The
right.
floor is open for discussions. We'll have a Q&A session for 10 minutes. At this time, are there any questions from the committee? Last call? All
I'll
right.
ask you a question. I think your proposal indicated that last year you received $1,500 in food and refreshments. So the difference to $2,175 is because you're concerned about running out. That's just the case last year.
For the last 2 years, we've run out. Even though it's in ballroom B, we set it up so there's tables, and we ask that only people with name tags who are presenters and judges are allowed in. We still, by mid to late afternoon, run out of food. And I really feel bad for the presenters who are late in the day, as well as the judges who've been there all day. And so I'm hoping that extra funds, the extra funds will help cover what we haven't been able to in the past. Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee at this time? Kathy?
So it says source programs, $825 per program. What does that include?
What you've got right under your arm, that's the source program.
Okay.
So every student presenter gets a copy of that. And so that cost so because I have 337 presentations by students, many of those with multiple authors, that basically pays for every student presenter to have that as a memento. And I think it's pretty beautiful, to tell you the truth. And for me, it provides them concrete evidence that here's the research they did. It's like it would be for a normal conference presentation or proceedings, where they can go back to the website or they can go back to that book and document what they did.
Any further questions at this time? Okay, seeing none, thank you for coming and presenting, and we'll vote on this next week.
Thank you.
All right. You have the other one. All right, at this time, we'll move on to supplemental funding request B, number 1413. Women in Aviation Conference from the Aviation Department is requesting $4,702. Did you have a PowerPoint presentation?
I did not.
Okay, good. I was like,
Don't worry about it.
All right, you got 10 minutes.
What's your question?
Great.
What? No,
Personal privilege for
Granted.
finals.
Okay. Well, I'm Laura Wanger. I'm a junior here in the aviation department, and I'm also the student academic senator for the department that's high-funded about getting funding for trips. So this is our first time ever requesting money as a department from SAS or from SA, I'm pretty sure. And it's for the Women in Aviation Conference, which I can speak personally about because I went to it last year. Not with the school, I went with my mom, but it was a great experience. So this is going to be the 25th annual Women in Aviation Conference, and it's the nation's largest conference for aviation, actually. So it's going to be held in Orlando, Florida this year, and there's 12 students from the aviation department going, a good mix of pilots and management students. It's held over 3 days. There's education sessions that really cover any topic you could want to know about in aviation, from flying to management, owning an airplane. So as far as our costs go, it's expensive to get down there. The airfare, hotel, conference fees, a rental car. And we're getting money from Club Senate for 8 out of the 12 students that are in Alpha Beta Rho. And then also we're requesting money from SAS, and they're voting on that tomorrow. So we'll see if we get that funding as well. I also didn't include the cost of people paying for their own food or going on special tours offered, like the Kennedy Space Center or Weeks Air Museum. And then also the airfare cost, I probably pretty underestimated it, but people waited a long time to buy their tickets, so I kind of had to guesstimate, and I went a little lower than most people ended up paying. So I didn't really know as far as how much to request, so I just went for the rest. to pay, that people are paying out of pocket, but really anything would help. It's an expensive but really great experience, and I think the students will get a lot out of it.
Do you guys have any questions at this time? Sarah?
How were the 12 students selected?
It was really anyone that wanted to go and had the funds, because they knew going in they'd probably be paying out of pocket. So people, like our teachers have talked about it, I talked to friends about it, my experience last year, and it was really just the students interested in going.
Are there any additional questions at this time? Sean?
Has your club done any or organization done any fundraising towards this?
The Alpha Eta Rel Club, they did do, they did a donut sale, and I'm thinking they're using club funding, but again, that's only 8 out of the 12 students are in that club.
Sarah, do you have another question?
Yeah, see if I can remember it. So how might your attendance, the 12 students' attendance at this conference, benefit other students other than just those 12?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as far as from my knowledge of it last year, the education seminars that go for 2 out of the 3 days, a lot of them are helpful in terms of how to get to future careers in aviation. So they have panels of current major airline pilots, and they talk about how they got from, say, a school like Central to that career path. So as far as that knowledge, you can bring that back to the other students in the program. Or just networking in general, you meet a lot of industry professionals. There's a lot of seniors going, so they could meet potential employers, and aviation's a pretty tight-knit community, so if you know there's interviews for a commuter airline, you'll tell your friends about it, and that's why it's good to come back to the phone and tell other students.
Are there any further questions at this time? JD?
You might have covered this, just curious. Your registration is for 12 people, and then your airfare is 11. You have 11 people.
Oh, I should have covered that. I'm actually going on an airline pass. My mom works for Alaska, so I don't have to pay airfare, so 11 students are paying for the airfare itself.
I was just wondering if that was a typo or...
No.
Are there any further questions from the committee at this time? Derek?
I'm curious, why don't you don't have a club account? Is that obvious?
Aviation's department.
It's just the department. It's not.
But Club Senate is giving you money.
To 8 out of the 12.
Yeah.
Because
I'm not that's for the Alpha Eta Rel Club. I've been talking to the girl that is the president of that, and I know they're committed to $2,000 from Club Senate, and that's covering just their hotel room. We all kind of book separately as far as hotel and airfare goes, so that's what that money's going towards. Hopefully SNA funding will go towards conference fees, and then the rest is supplemental.
And you said food and any additional tours come out of pocket?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any further questions at this time?
Just to clarify, you're planning on the hotel room is four per room?
Well, people kind of booked it separately. We all kind of went into it a little bit separate. But yeah, there is one group of 4 that all booked a room together and saved on cost.
So how many rooms total is that for?
That's for, I believe it's 5 rooms for the Alpha Eta Rel people, 4, and then I'm going with my mom, so she's paying for the one. 6.
And it's 3 days, the conference?
Yeah,
Okay.
So that's 6 rooms, is that the total?
I believe so.
Okay.
Any further questions from the committee at this time? Last call. All right, we'll take a vote on that tonight.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to Section 8, Supplemental Funding Requests Voting. We'll start with subsection A, number 1411. PESH is requesting $10,500 for the national conference. We heard their request last week. I'd like to open up the table for discussion for 10 minutes, and table's open.
Jacob?
Yes, Ashley?
So initially I had some apprehensions with this application. I think that it's a lot of money, at least it's more money than we've seen in the past few applications. But, upon consideration, I think that 20 students attending this conference who are all upperclassmen, they're all contributing from their own pockets. They, have met criteria to be considered eligible to attend as a part of this group. I think that this is a cheap price to pay for a potentially big impact on the students of Central. The way that we showcase ourselves to schools in Washington after these test students graduate and go out and get jobs. And I think that I'll be supporting the full amount.
Okay.
Thank you.
Derek?
Is this the same club that came to us for pickleball?
Yes. Yeah, for the amount of 30, I believe it was.
It was like 37 or something.
Something
It was
like that,
yeah.
33, yeah.
Are there any further comments at this time? JD?
I would like to tag on to kind of his question. Although they're two separate requests, in this presentation we didn't hear anything about pickleball, and I can only assume.
That's actually, Jacob, that's out of order. It doesn't pertain to the motion or the question on the table.
We can't talk about past presentations? Yeah, that's true, I guess, yeah. I guess you're right, Ashley. Thank you.
Yes.
I just fail to see how I'm talking about a past one when I said we didn't hear about pickleball in this presentation.
Because you're comparing it to the first presentation, which is past.
Okay. Never mind then.
All right, well, I entertain a motion to support PESH in the amount of $10,500. Robert? So moved?
Yeah, so moved.
Is there a second? Miles?
A second.
Any discussion?
I'm strongly opposed to the motion for two reasons. First, I don't think it's a chair's prerogative, and I think Ashley's our parliamentarian. But I don't think it's the chair's responsibility to make a motion for a specific amount or to entertain a motion whereby trigger a motion for a specific amount. And secondly, I do think it's relevant that this group requested money in the fall, and they were rejected.
Ashley, are you on speakerphone on that end?
Yeah, I am. Yes, I am.
Okay.
If you could, you may ask if this group has come to request funds before, and you can ask the amount, but you can't compare the circumstances or the particulars within the two different requests. That is out of order.
Well, and in light of what John said, I want to respect his knowledge in the community, so I'll rescind my motion. We'll open up discussion again. Oh, I entertained it.
You entertained it.
True.
I'll move it. I second it.
There's a motion on the table, so unless it's rescinded by the person who made it, then
That's true.
you have a vote to take.
I'm not rescinding it.
Okay. All right. John?
Well, I'd like clarification then from Ashley. Which part of the rules of order that we're following state that we cannot compare one motion to another?
One request.
I can get I don't have let me get my book.
I love that. Just get it.
While Ashley's looking, I'll just say that from the time I've been on this committee, it's been very common. I think it happens on an almost weekly basis that we weigh one motion against another. And in this case, what I think is quite logical is to weigh this motion against an almost identical motion that was rejected by the committee. JD, in the last case where this was offered, JD then made a motion to fund it at a much reduced amount of $8,250, so a smaller number of students could go. That was seconded by Robert Moser, but also rejected. So I think it's very relevant that this was considered previously, and unfortunately, I respect the request. I understand why the students want to go, but I think it is very relevant that it was presented before and turned down, as well as a reduced amount.
I think that, John, the way that you said it now, that is an appropriate use of discussion of past motions, but bringing up specifics of the pickleball instance and comparing those make that the portion that's out of order.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
JD?
So just for clarification, Ashley, the content of the request and the amount requested cannot be compared, even though there is a drastic. You can compare the amount requested and the content. Is my question? Does it make sense?
Yeah, so you can say, oh, I've noticed this group has come before, and that we didn't, fund their request fully, but going into specifics as to why we didn't do that, or for anything more than just history purposes, is considered out of order.
Derek?
Hopefully I can ask this question without getting thrashed, but is this the exact same conference that was being asked for before? Just
Yes.
reframed? Okay.
Any further discussion? JD, you have something.
I think that it's very relevant, seeing how it is the same conference and the types of sessions that would be attended. Say there was a large difference. I'm just going to spitball here. Say that in this previous conference they had activities where they got to just like play video games. I know that's not the purpose of this conference, but I'm saying they got to do something that had no educational value, and there's a difference in why they came. Does that make sense? So last time they came just to go to the sessions where they did fun things, and this time they were to come where they were going to go to educational. I think that there is a, if in the situation that there are differences in the presentations and the reasoning for them coming to with a request is very valid. I think that is.
I'm going to go Connie and Joey.
I think we need to stay on the topic of this presentation.
I agree. Joey?
And then just for point of information, that they are for the same conference. It is a different proposal with a different budget amount and different number of students attending and different costs that the students are paying themselves.
Derek, I'll let you talk a third time, even though you can only talk twice on one topic, but go ahead.
Okay. I have a question about what Ashley was bringing up. She seemed to suggest that we can't revisit the fact that they've changed why they're asking for money.
Is this about the current motion on the table?
I believe so.
Okay, keep going then.
So is that something that we can't do?
I'm sorry, can you rephrase? I didn't seem to understand what you're asking.
I'll just ask another time. I'm done.
Is there any further discussion at this time? Okay. All in favor of the motion on the table of supporting PESH for the amount of $10,500?
Aye.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, all opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes 6 to 3 to 1. Am I correct, Kay, on that? Okay, motion passes. Funding for the amount of $10,500 for PESH is approved. Thank you, guys. Move on to supplemental funding request voting, subsection B. Women in Aviation is requesting $4,702. I'll open up the table for discussion. Tom?
I have a few concerns about this particular request. The first one is that the number of hotel rooms. It seems, and I did a rough calculation, I'm not sure if I'm correct, but it looks like we've got approximately 5 rooms for 11 people, because one person, the presenter, did mention that she was going to share with her mother. And most of the people that come to us are sharing, putting more people than 2 people per, and this isn't really even 2 people per room for that number of rooms. And so I was thinking that seems to me from the typical that it's a little much. And then I think all of the other costs seem to be realistic, at least, or within reason. But I think primarily I don't see a lot of tie, a lot of benefit to other students of the university. So those are my 2 concerns.
Okay, any further discussion at this time? Robert?
I just wanted to mention Connie's, the hotel room thing. I am concerned about that as well. And if we do anything, we think we should figure out a per room thing, maybe subtracting off the rooms or something, because I know you said 5. But
Yeah.
I think it was 6, 5 for the club member.
Actually, if you divide the 2521 by 3 nights, and then roughly about 5 people, I guesstimated, it comes out to $168 a night per, which is about reasonable for this location. So I'm thinking they've got 5 rooms booked.
5, okay.
I don't know for sure.
I'll recognize the gallery.
Oh, sorry. It is, people are staying a little bit longer due to flying in before the conference starts and trying to fly out Monday for cheaper flights also. So they're not staying just for the 3 days. It's actually like 5.
Do you know how many rooms they've booked?
As far as I know that the people in my class that I've talked to, they're sharing 4 for 1 room, and then Theta Rho has 4 nights, 3 rooms at a different hotel. Sorry. That helps.
Okay. Any further discussion at this time? Sorry?
Point of information, the per diem, government per diem, which is usually not very high for Orlando for the time that they're going to be there, is $123 a night. I assume that's for double occupancy.
Okay. Josh, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I agree with Connie that I'd like to see more of a, instead of like coming back from this conference and just kind of like telling your friends about it, or telling your other classmates about it, I'd see more of like I'd like to see more of like more like a structured like presentation kind of, try to reach out to more students than just kind of like relaxing and telling people, I'd rather see more, educate as many of the other former aviation students that they can.
Okay. Is there any further discussion at this time? Is there a motion? Would you like to entertain a motion at this time?
Well, to carry on the discussion then, I will make a motion to fund this group for $2,000.
Okay, is there a second? JD? Any discussion? All in favor of funding the aviation conference for the amount of $2,000?
Aye.
John, are you in favor?
I'm not in favor.
Okay.
I was making the motion.
All right, any opposed?
Just to give
I'm
people.
going to vote for that. That's-
For yes?
Yes.
So all in favor, again, raise your hand. 1.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes. We'll fund aviation for the amount of $2,000. Thank you.
See you later.
Can you move and then close? I got it. All right. You taught me something new today, John.
It was virtual.
Just to keep things moving.
All right. Move on to section 9, old business. There is none. So move on to section 10, new business, base funding program reviews. We'll start with Camp Siwoo, the summer camp. Go ahead, take the floor, guys. You got 10 minutes.
Alright, well, I'm Jacob Abel and this is Corey Sinclair. We are here with the University Recreation Department with our summer camp program, Camp Siwoo. Camp Siwoo, it began in the 1980s and received over 30 years of funding from SNA. We are a recreational and educational program offered by the Central Washington University Recreation Department. And we target children from ages 7 to 11 to participate in summer camp, where our primary functions are activity and fun. Some of our learning objectives for our student staff, we want our members to be able to prepare and implement activity plans for campers, properly solve problems, identify potential risks and how to navigate them. Student staff will communicate policies to the campers and parents and motivate campers in a positive way, which can be a challenge when working with children. And our student staff also will enhance their ability to work with the team. On the other side, our campers will improve their teamwork, balance, strength, endurance, speed, agility, and flexibility with our morning fitness program. The campers will also develop positive social skills, participate in academic-related activities, which Corey will talk about in our collaborations. Campers will improve their swimming skills and improve their knowledge of nutrition as we provide healthy snacks every day and teach about proper nutrition. So for student employment, we employ 8 students per summer, and we train each student for a week. And then there's 9 weeks of summer camp, so that's where we get our 10 weeks. And there's about 35 hours per week for the students, and we pay them minimum wage. Our other employees, we do not control, but we pay for other facility staff, including the climbing wall staff, lifeguards, bus drivers, and they all have set wages that we don't control. But that's right there. So here's our organizational chart. This is underneath of the University Recreation Department. So at the top of our program is Corey Sinclair, who's the camp director. Underneath of him, we're going to have 2 supervisors, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. They serve as the point of contact with the parents when they check in and check out. And at the bottom, we have our 6 camp counselors. So that makes 1, 2, 3. So we have 8 employees there. And that for risk management, we have to maintain an 8-to-1 camper to staff ratio. So with this chart, we're able to meet our demands. So then I'll go ahead and hand off to Corey and go over the benefits.
So as far as benefits to Central students, we create jobs for students on campus. Last year there was about $16,000 we paid out in student wages. We generate revenue for other programs and facilities by renting out facilities like the Student Village Multi-Purpose Room that is owned by Residents Alive. We utilize the campus pool, climbing wall, the recreation center. We also have a reduced rate for CWU students for those that are taking classes. And it's we have about 10% of our total kids that participate in the program are kids of Central students. And we also work with academic departments, and so they actually create lesson plans, and they're actually able to implement those plans with actual kids. So again, so then in addition to working with academic departments or academic programs, our staff is actually, most of our staff is our students that are going to some kind of a career in working with kids, so they actually gain practical work experience in working with kids. So each staff member gains about 400 hours of practical experience during the summer. They receive about 40 hours of training. And Hannah, one of our former camp counselors that worked with me for several years, she provided me a quote and said, Camp Siwa is a great place to work. I'm going into early childhood education, and the skills I've learned this summer will aid me in the classroom one day. 2 skills I was able to develop are communicating with parents in a positive manner and encouraging play as a way of learning. How we make decisions on our program. A lot of input. We send out at least 1 survey during the summer, but probably the majority of the way that we get input from parents is face-to-face. We have like Jacob mentioned, we have a morning supervisor and an afternoon supervisor, so they check the kids in and out of camp, and they serve as kind of they get to touch base with parents each day. So one thing that I've learned working with parents, I guess, is if they're unhappy with something or if they're really excited about something, they'll definitely let you know. Collaborations, I mentioned earlier about some of the facilities that we use as far as academic programs that we work with, several different education classes, biology, astronomy, physics. Dr. Michael Jackson did something for us last year. It was great. They have a lot of fun toys, and the kids have really enjoyed that, so it was a great experience. Music as well. We work with music education students as well. And yeah. So how do we support the university's goals? Enhancing the students' academic experience, collaborating with academic departments, providing jobs for Central students and making them more marketable when they graduate. I know the president's talked in the not too distant past about entrepreneurial programs or generating revenue, so we've definitely been working in that direction, strengthening a bond between the university and the community, and providing a service to students that are taking classes. So now getting down to the numbers portion of the budget, Sharon was able to send me this chart. So one thing that's tricky with this budget is the program, the end of the fiscal year actually falls right in the middle of the program. So what you're seeing is, yeah, I guess the middle of the summer and then all the way and then the beginning of the next summer. So these numbers are reflective of the fiscal year. So you've got the revenue on the top, the expenses at the bottom, and so the numbers, I guess, I don't know if every report that you guys see that Sharon generates, they're actually backwards. So the revenue that you see, it looks like it's negative, is actually positive, and the expenses is actually. So when you see the numbers down here, the overall, so if you look at 2012, you probably see we actually lost $10,000 that year. If you look here, our administrative fee was over $8,000. So that definitely accounted a lot for that. So fortunately, there's been some adjustments that have been made, and we haven't had that. Another factor in there is up until 2012, prior to that, we were growing every year. So we were up to as high as 44 kids per day. We were actually turning away some parents. We had 55 kids in a given day. And for some reason, our numbers dropped probably below half. Not sure why. The structure of the program had remained the same. I personally believe, my opinion is, I think with the economy, we never saw any impact when things kind of went sideways a few years ago. And I think finally that's finally caught up to this community. So I think parents can't afford to send their kids to camp, and maybe a parent staying at home. So I think that was a big factor personally, but that's pure speculation on my part. But so we did a lot of adjustments, and so you can see here we were able to generate $16,000, and we're getting ready to begin registrations for this upcoming year. So we just need $2,000, and then we'll break even. But I think we should be closer to that $16,000 range, I'm hoping, this next summer. So
Why in the 1 year that you were 10,000 in the hole? It seems like your goods and services, compared to the other years, it's almost 4 times as much. Miscellaneous supplies.
Miscellaneous supplies doesn't matter.
Your rentals and leases also are almost double. Why are they so high? That your plus you had your administrative tax on top of that. So.
Right. So like I said, initially when I went in, I had to hire students basically in the springtime and set a certain staffing level. So based on previous years, I've been able to maintain a certain staffing level. So we dropped down from 2012 from our student staff. You see here we went from $30,000, did some significant restructuring of the program, dropped it all the way down to 16,000. So again, we were averaging 44 kids per day. So I did my best to cut back on staff wages, but I had students that committed to work for me for the entire summer. So I tried to keep them busy and find ways to keep them working, even though we scaled back as much as we possibly could. And then we used to do field trips every week when we're bringing in 44, 50 kids a day. We're able to, I guess, maximize our expenses. So things like if we're getting a charter bus and taking them somewhere, it's obviously a lot more cost effective if you're doing it with 50 people. Now all of a sudden, if you're doing it for 18, 20 kids, now all of a sudden, so we completely restructured, cut back on our staff, changed our registration. Instead of going from a daily, we changed it to a weekly and made them walk in. We've got an entire summer registration that we have set up so that we can try and project, what level of staffing we're going to need. And we've made some dramatic changes.
And you got out of the administrative fee.
Yes, that was a big help. That was a big help. So and then I'm actually going to go through and try and figure out a way, because honestly, I don't know, from year to year, there are some things that could potentially fall into the miscellaneous goods and services category or program expenses, and I think sometimes the same item might get keyed differently from year to year, so I think that makes things a little bit difficult to track unless you pull down each specific expense. So.
Is that activity or something? This is the end of the presentation.
This is the end.
All right, so we'll open up the table for discussion. If you guys have any questions about Camp Siwoo, Todd?
I just had a few. I know I asked you this when you probably did your base funding too, but this will be a refresher for this group. Most of them weren't there. So the length of the program is weekly or daily? Is it a daily thing or weekly?
The length of the program is 9 weeks. And so we've changed the registration to where it used to be people could register just for a day at a time. We've set it to where they have to lock in either for the entire summer or for an entire week. Okay. So that way I can adjust staffing levels and reduce costs administratively for
You said 10% of the 10% of your participants are children of students. How many would that be? 10%.
This last summer there were 22 kids average per day.
So a couple kids were.
So of the 22, two would be student
2.2.
kids.
Correct.
And then, do you how much is do you offer a student discount?
Yes, we do. Yeah, it's
How much
it
is
was
what's the differential
for the entire summer. It was $200 cheaper for the summer.
for the 9 weeks?
Correct. And then for per week, it was $20 per week.
What is the cost?
The cost is it was $1,800 for the entire summer for all 9 weeks, and then $1,600 for students. So looking at now that we've, I guess, gotten through a summer with a significant change, we're looking at Jake is actually an intern for me, and so he's actually been doing some kind of analysis and comparison of different services throughout the summer, and so we're looking at possibly making an adjustment there now that we know that we can survive, and tweaking things a little bit more. And might reduce it a little bit to make it a little bit more competitive and in line with the community.
Okay. Any further questions at this time? JD?
This is purely curiosity. How'd you make $32 off insurance last year?
So again, it's probably that part of it was billed the previous year, so I think actually at the end of the summer, I actually have to go back and tell them exactly what our numbers were, because I think it's lumped in with a bunch of athletic camps and different things, so they project what our potential is going to look like, and then I give them what the actual number is at the end of the year. And so sometimes that number that I anticipated is less, so like I said, the numbers varied greatly, so there was probably a refund.
I was just
curious. No, great question.
Yeah, that whole end of June thing just messes the summer camps up,
Yeah, I always debate whether to try and present it in a calendar format so that it makes more sense to you guys, but then I worry that it might just create more confusion, so I just thought not to.
Are there any further questions at this time? Perfect. Seeing none, well, thank you guys for coming in.
Thanks for your time.
Go Camp Siwoo. When I get kids, I'll send them there. It's there in 25 years.
Yes.
All right, so we'll move on to base funding program review, subsection 2, homecoming. Do we have our own Scott Drummond here? Looks like we do. Scott, I'm limiting you this time to 9 minutes. I'm limiting you to 9 minutes this time. You went 11 minutes last presentation. So.
It's gonna take one away.
Now you got 10 minutes, so it's like 45.
Go. I'm hoping this is probably one of the more simple programs that you'll hear about. Homecoming, in just a real quick history, because I know there are a lot of new faces at the table from the last few years. The homecoming budget was generated about 12 years ago at the request of student government and the SNA committee. The question that existed for years, can we do national talent here at the college? And my old boss and I we were being facetious, but the truth of the matter was, yes, we know how to do this, it just takes money. And so the reality was, they wanted to do this, they being the students wanted to do this, asked us to go ahead and generate a proposal. So it's kind of a little bit backwards in that they were asking us to generate a proposal that they were asking us to do. 2, 3, 4. So we did, and long story short, we ultimately, after a couple of rounds at the table, rounds of conversation at the table, we ended up coming back with a $35,000 budget proposal. We felt that going in that direction, that could support and we didn't have a figure attached to it, but even a non-sellout show, for instance, at Nicholson Pavilion, if we found a talent at, say, $80,000. So that plus revenue, we could get that done, as well as try to stay under the market value, what the going rate might be if you were to see the same show in Seattle or at some other venue outside of Ellensburg. So the whole idea was to keep it as low cost as possible for students And because we were also recognizing our market area, we were also trying to make sure that we held our pricing as low as possible to still generate enough revenue to try to make sure that that in combination with the budget would pay the bills. Bottom line, you got to pay the bills. So since then, we've had some up and downs. We've had some years where we had complete sellouts, but strangely enough, we lost money. What the original agreement was that and I don't know how this happened, I cannot remember, but if homecoming show went over budget, campus activities would make up the difference. And I think I fell asleep during that part of the conversation. So anyway, so that's still what we do. But anyway, so the main idea was, so let's make this happen here at Central. So now flash forward to this budget year, which was 2012-13. That was the year we presented Patton Oswalt in the ballroom. So we've gone as big name as, say, Jay Leno or Bill Cosby, which would push us into the pavilion. And then oftentimes we'll try to keep this so it's a much more budget-conscious show. Keeping our overall expenses as low as possible, try to keep it here in the ballroom. The realities being that even though you might attach a so-called big name to a show, doesn't always mean you're going to sell out the pavilion at 3,000 to 4,000 seats. So for instance, Drew Carey and the Improv All-Stars, we only did about half a house in the pavilion. Damon Wayans, who at the time was hot, we only did about half a pavilion. And then walking into the pavilion costs right off the top about $14,000 to $15,000. By the time you do facility prep, electricians, extra security, sound and light company, et cetera, we can walk into a ballroom and have relatively minimal expenses. So little overview there. So the Patton Oswalt year, we actually ended up selling 707, I wish we sold 1,700 tickets, 717 tickets, and then we did 35 comps, which are promotional. So those went to radio stations, those were trade outs for radio advertising, that provided a couple of stations, including the Berg, the ability to do contest winners, generate additional interest. If somebody wins, their friend might come with, et cetera, et cetera. So the Patton Oswalt year, 2013, we actually came out ahead for a change. We rather than ending up having to tap out the entire $35,000, we were actually able to come away at about $24,000, and that was after generating revenue. So where our revenue goes, so there's always the story. Where does this go? So in Patton's year, because we're like this now. So in Patton's year, we were actually able to negotiate an all-inclusive price with him at $30,000. That included his travel, hotel, his rent-a-car, he even ate at IHOP, and that was on his dime. That was part of his check. That doesn't happen very often, but I was a little pat on my back. We pulled that one off somehow. We even got an opening act along in that price. So 30 grand for a national name and in a near sellout in the ballroom, we were really pleased. Also, the agent that we work with, there's a 10% agent, so there's $3,000. But with what we saved on travel, etc., we were thrilled. So at $33,000, we have Patton Oswalt here at Central. And then, of course, there's security, there's setup and takedown and tech fees, etc., in the ballroom. So that comes out to roughly $777, and some pocket change was just the overall fees before I even add in some of the other smaller expenses that come along day of and day before show, some of the cleanup expenses, etc. Let me refer to my little notes here. Marketing and advertising for that particular show was just over $2,000, which was really great for that year. Printing, on-campus printing, $400. Rentals and leases and came out to $200, which is very good. Other personal services, and that's where we get into university police. That's where some of our other staffing charges that are non-campus activities related but that's our university police, et cetera, any of the other areas that we're needing to pay some people for overtime, et cetera. Campus activities always absorbs the campus activities staff in terms of how to support the program. So at whatever the prevailing wages that I'm paying my student activities programmers, campus activities always has absorbed that cost. So whether it's a few $100s to a lot of few $100s, depending on the size of it. If we're doing a pavilion show, then of course those expenses rise because of the sheer size and scope of that program. I think that's probably it in a pretty solid nutshell. One of the things too that's kind of a fee that hides a little bit is when we sell tickets, and I know we've got a couple of folks in here that use the Vendini ticketing program, there's an expense to selling a ticket. And so, for instance, we sold, so our gross sales was $12,296. Our net from ticket sales alone was $10,808.50. So we don't, I don't call that a loss, but that is an additional expense. So there's another $400 and a few dollars that goes into just selling the ticket, that piece of cardboard that you get to get into the gate. So all those, like I say, go against the overall $35,000 for up to that year. This year, of course, when we do the report back, or next year when we do the report back, it'll be $36,000 or $37,000 because of the 5%. So in a nutshell, there's homecoming.
Any questions? Todd?
I'm on fire tonight.
And fuego.
Will the lights that we recently purchased for the ballroom, will that help you out, save you a little bit of tech money or setup money?
I don't know yet, because I don't know what they're going to charge for that. I don't know, because I would like to think so, because now they don't have to build the truss. They don't. But I almost said problem. That would have erased that. The issue that I may run into there is that also means that I have to face my theater that way, and that keeps me. It sounds like this is keeps us at under 900 seats, possible seat, which is that translates into ticket sales. The other way, for instance, jumping ahead this year, Wayne Brady I sold 950. I did a sellout show at 950. So I lose about 100 seats potential revenue by facing it that way. So what I don't know yet is how much the offset is if I just go ahead and face it sideways, and if I save enough money on those lights, maybe that's okay. But that also means that's 100 fewer tickets that we can, and I really do look at it this way. On one hand, you can look at it as money. On the other hand, I look at it as people. And not to sound all altruistic and all that stuff, but that's what we're about, is can we engage a person in that room for a couple of hours and give them something to walk away with, a memory, a connection to walk away with. And even when I've worked in the outside industry, I was the knucklehead that was always fighting for the customer. And even though, you might have Neil Young's tour manager yelling at you, you're still trying to fight for that seat because of a sight line. So I do really go there for patrons. I think any of us would want to, because that's who it's for. It's not for me, it's for you, right? So anyway, all that being said, I hope it'll help, but I still look at it as I lost seats. Yep. And that's a bummer.
Is there any further question at this time, Catherine?
Have you ever looked into other companies for tickets? I know it's a small expense, but we've always used brown paper tickets, and they're really reasonable compared to others.
I was going to be facetious, I'm sorry. Paper bags are way more expensive. Brown paper tickets, boom, boom. I'll just say it this way. There was extensive research and a bid process, etc. So the bid goes out, and whoever looks at this potential, or at Central as a potential customer, had the opportunity. And I'm not sure when that process goes out.
So we're all tied into Vendini, basically?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every event goes through them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the good news, quite honestly, Vendini, at least from what I've seen, Vendini's pretty reasonable. And with what they give us, with what they provide us in that whole, because it also, I can track my customers. So next time I go out with a show, I can actually initiate a contact to those folks. And so we have a history now that we have with Vendini. There used to be another ticket company that was used here, and with Vendini, I'm actually talking about somebody else's program here, but anyway, Vendini gives us a lot of flexibility and a lot of opportunity with our client connections and patron connections, even our student connections. So, but that's another one. I mean, hey, competition's awesome because it might save us all some money. That's a good thing.
Any further questions?
As a programmer who uses Vendini, it's very convenient and user-friendly.
Here's where I go with it. Thank you, Ashley. Here's where I go with it. If I can figure it out, believe me, it's really easy. I am.
Brown paper tickets?
Brown paper. See, and I'll be honest with you, I've never heard of brown paper tickets. So, like I say, there's one more for the mix, and if they compete and it helps save some money for students, that's a good thing. But we want the service. That's the thing.
I'll do it for half the price.
All right. Yeah, good luck with that. Okay.
Whitman tickets.
Huh? Whitman tickets. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll look for that next time we go out there. Yeah.
All right, cool. No more questions?
And no, I don't know who's next year.
All right.
I don't know who's next year yet. We're looking.
All right, cool.
I
Thank you,
lost
Scott.
Seth Myers, so.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right. I might come back next year and perform for homecoming. I actually rap. You guys probably don't know this though. Yeah. And I'll sell the tickets. Yeah, do it all. All right, so move on to section 11, other business, communications received. I got a communication from Dustin. Actually, Kay got it. So he's not here tonight because he's feeling ill. He also wanted to let the committee know that he's giving his 2-week notice because he's actually graduating in March, which I didn't know. So congratulations to Dustin. I can't wait to be in that spot in June. So, yes. All right. No communications? All right, move on to section 12, public comment. Second call at this time. Is there any comment from our public crowd out there that's been sitting here this whole time?
Rich isn't here, so we're safe.
Hey, Jacob, can I speak briefly?
Yeah, go ahead, Ashley.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to comment on John's concerns earlier about Jacob entertaining a motion. And I think that those concerns they weren't unfounded, but it is within the discretion of the chair to entertain motions at any time. And that if the body, or the committee, is ever unhappy with the decision of the chair, there can be a challenge made to the decision, the ruling of the chair, and that's exactly how you would say it, just that I'd like to make a challenge to the ruling of the chair, and that the committee then would take a vote on whether or not they want to uphold the decision of the chair. But I did just want to clarify that is within, because we're using Robert's rules and not Reed's rules, it is within the discretion of the chair to entertain motions at any time for the purposes of moving business forward.
All right. Hey, Ashley, is that a 3/4 vote to challenge a chair, or is it majority?
Simple majority.
Simple majority? Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep.
Is there any public comment at this time for their public comment? All right. Seeing, I did ask Horatio if he's going to be here tonight. He said no. So I said the meeting is probably going to go a lot quicker. All right. We'll move on to section 13. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
No, don't challenge it. Don't challenge.
Miles?
So moved.
Was there a second? Ooh, who do I pick? JD. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, meeting adjourned at 6:50. Thanks, guys.
Bye, Ashley.